You want to talk about finding goodness? Two particular South Africans set off to break a record and find something special about this continent. They wanted to set a new record for the Africa run. Get this, from Cape Town to London. Well, they have done it. Well done, Paul Brace and Philip Young, who were here in studio before they set off. They have made it to London, and get this, 10 days, 13 hours and 28 minutes. And they've done it in a Fiat Panda. Look at that. Who would have thought that the Panda Bear would dominate the African continent? But these guys have proven a point. Firstly, that South Africans can drive, but that the African continent is ready to receive travelers. This is so awesome. You can see the help they received along the way. These guys had to think on their feet, but they got quite a reception, understandably so, when they arrived in London, breaking the previous record by some way. What an achievement. Paul and Philip, guys, well done. I'm glad we were there to break that bottle of champagne and send you on your way, so to speak. Very, very cool. Now, I've got my two petrol heads waiting downstairs. I've banished them to the basement because, well, they don't deserve to come into studio with a car that hot to play around with this week. Boys, what's happening?
Good morning, Graham. So we've got a very special German guest in the studio this morning. It's the BMW M6 Coupe.
It is indeed. Now, I know South Africa, you're just waking up at the moment, but I must point out that the way I woke up yesterday was someone phoning me from BMW saying, would you like an M6 Coupe? And I said yes. So that started my Valentine's Day got off to a pretty good start.
Now, this isn't our first experience of the BMW M6. If you remember, we reviewed the M6 convertible on Expresso last year, and even though it was the color of a teenager's nail polish, there was something about it that just didn't gel with us.
Yeah, it was it either had too much or too little. We couldn't quite put our finger on what exactly it was, and it was just missing something, and it wasn't just the roof.
So you've been driving this, and what's it like?
Again, to continue the Valentine's theme, I'm deeply, 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 deeply infatuated with this car.
A car crash, yeah.
Yes, I've got a massive car crash in this. It is absolutely, absolutely fantastic. And obviously, because it's got a carbon fiber roof, it's a lot lighter. The chassis is a lot stiffer than the Cabrio, but there's something else indefinable, and there's also something else very rational that we can explain to you why it's better.
Now, this car has a party trick, a very, very loud party trick. So come around with me to the back. I'm going to do something I don't do too often, I must be honest. Now, I've got a microphone on my chest here, so I'm going to get down next to this exhaust. You've got to hear this, and Gav's going to start it. Listen to that! That is fantastic. I think you better turn it off, Gav, otherwise no one's going to be able to hear us out there.
I don't think anyone will be able to.
Now, I think we should explain what's making this noise, right? First of all, there's the engine and then this custom exhaust. The engine is a 4.4-litre twin-turbo V8. Now, this is from a company that for a long time openly hated turbochargers, so this obviously has two, but the exhaust is quite special as well.
It is. The exhaust is made by a company called Akrapovic.
Not Akrapovic, it's called Akrapovic.
Yes, they want you to say Akrapovic. And they are from Slovenia, whose national pastimes are speedway, motorbike racing, and death metal. So they obviously like a noise, as you just heard. But back to the engine, this is truly a remarkable unit. And that exhaust doesn't just add to the soundtrack, it also pushes up the power output, which is exactly what the M6 needed.
More power.
More power. It now has 563 horsepower.
Okay, that's old numbers. In useful numbers, that's 411 kilowatts, but that probably still doesn't mean very much to you. So here's a list of cars that this car is more powerful than.
The
Aston Martin Vantage V12, the Ferrari California, the Audi R8, the big one, the V10, the Bentley Continental V8, which we reviewed on Expresso last year.
And which was absolutely staggering.
Which was fantastic. Yeah. And then it's very, very close to my favorite supercar, which is the Ferrari 458 Italia.
This almost has as much power as a 458 Italia.
But it's very heavy. How much do you think this car weighs?
I know from our rehearsal, I guessed 1,800 kilograms, Chiro.
1,925, Gavin.
Yes.
But it still gets to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.2 seconds.
Which is absolutely staggering. It's got launch control in it as well, which you're only allowed to use about 3 times a year, otherwise the clutch will end.
You have to phone BMW first as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, but and also it goes, obviously it's limited to 250 k's an hour, but there will be a performance package where it'll go way past 300 k's an hour. The speedo reads up to 330, and I'm sure it'll be troubling the lower spectrum of the end of that speedo spectrum,
Right, so now this car has some pretty incredible rivals that I know we both like. So 1.4 million for this, about the same for a Maserati GT,
Yes.
a little bit more for a Mercedes-Benz SL63. So I have to ask you.
Look, I'm already cheating on Mercedes-Benz by loving this car.
In an ideal world.
In an ideal world, I would have all three side by side in a glass garage in my bedroom.
So I think I'd probably have some.
Exactly, but I think, Joe, I would go for the Maserati.
Sure, I have such an enormous amount of respect for this car, but I am a bit Italian, and I think if I was sitting in my M6 and a Maserati drove past, I'd think, oof.
I should have bought that.
It's a tough one, though.
But
It's a tough one.
This is a truly, truly phenomenal car. It really is. And,
astonishing car.
Yeah, well, it's going to be very difficult to give it back. Back to you, Graham.
Boys, thank you so much. I'm glad you got to drive this car because you never know, it might be the last day on Earth. What separates us, or possibly time will tell, from the dinosaurs is our ability to see our impending doom. Could the sky be falling on our heads? Is an asteroid coming closer to Earth? We're going to find out in a moment. Kat is going to give us all of those details. Stick around.
With a range of quality products guaranteed nationally, you will always find there's so much more to Midas.